that are on the table, matzah, unleavened bread. When the Jews fled, they fled in such a rush that they were unable to take any leavened products, risen products with them. So the story at Passover is everything must be unleavened. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. There's also a glass of water, and I love this part that's left at usually an open seat someplace, and that is a glass of water in honor of Moses' sister Miriam. Miriam had this gift to be able to find fresh water in the desert, so we do this to bring in and welcome Miriam and pay tribute to her. Two things when you set a Seder plate, or if you go to a community Seder, and I urge that. If there is a community Seder in your neighborhood, they're usually about $30 to $40 a person. Go. It's incredible food, but the story that comes with it is going to be so enlightening to you. I'm Catholic. We do a Seder. It's a wonderful thing. It's a story. It's a great meal. It's a fabulous thing to be able to do with friends and family. But the two things that you see now, one, and I did this the other night when we sat this, I put an orange at the table. The orange is symbolic of a celebration of the marginalized communities and what they bring to the family. The orange celebrates the fruitfulness of the gay and lesbian community, of women who were oftentimes not celebrated, to their full potential. So those marginalized communities, that orange is there for their celebration and welcoming their fruitfulness into the family, into the community. And a new thing that we see now, oftentimes in community theaters, is an olive. An olive symbolizes the hope for peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. It's a beautiful symbol of hoping for peace and going from there. So, a little bit about the food. Everybody's been to a Jewish deli. We know the quality, the heart, the heart and soul that's put into cooking. But around Passover, things get a little tighter. They're a little bit more restricted. There are things called chametz, which are forbidden foods, mostly risen grains, to the point where pasta is a no-go, breadcrumbs, any type of cracker, any type of bread product other than a matzah, which is the unleavened bread. Because you've got to remember that they fled so quickly that they went out to the desert without that. So, a little bit more about Jewish dietary laws, so we get into that. They are controlled by something called the Kosrat, which is the laws, and it's very simple. People get so confused over what you can eat, what you cannot eat, things like that. You can eat land. You can eat land animals that have cloven hooves and chew a cud. Therefore, they eat grass. Okay, so that eliminates pork right out there. Seafood is simply defined as anything with fins and scales. Shellfish, out of the question. No birds of prey. That's another little part of that. And then traditionally, and this is changed over time in certain traditions and in reformed uh, Jewish dietary law, you can get around this, but meat and dairy should not be eaten together. There is actually a passage that says, "Do not boil a kid in its mother's milk." Okay, that's right. So those types of food that we can't eat are considered treif or forbidden. Then there are neutral foods that are parv. When you see parv, the word parv, it's a neutral food. So vegetables, potatoes, things like that. Okay. My menu the other night, I did a simple, I set a Seder plate. I did a potato gnocchi with applesauce. Why? Because I was doing chicken dinner, so I could not do sour cream. So because no dairy, no meat at the same table, so I went that way. Now, had I went with just a fish dinner, I could have put dairy out at the table. But dairy said no butter. You're using fats, you're using other types of things. Matzo ball soup, one of my favorite things in the entire world. Pretty much a wonderful chicken broth with a matzo ball that could be very light and fluffy if you make it correctly. It's made with matzo flour, which is an unrisen flour. Gefilte fish. So I put that as a lesson for students that were at this educational Seder. Gefilte fish is carp. It is a carp pate for all intents and purposes. It's very fatty. It's a lot of natural gelatin in it. Um, I will suggest this. I like gefilte fish, but if you're going to be at a community Seder and gefilte fish is served to you and there's horseradish there, give it a good liberal dose of horseradish. Trust me on that one. Okay. I did a little hummus. I did the hummus with some vegetables. Very simply, I did a roasted chicken that was marinated for a couple days in lemon, garlic, olive oil, a little salt and pepper, nothing complicated. I did a wonderful pesto crusted salmon. I did roasted carrots with dill, and I did a potato kugel. If you're unfamiliar with what kugels are absolutely fabulous. I like a sweet kugel you can get as a dessert. A kugel, for all intents and purposes, macaroni and cheese could be a kugel. Okay, it's a baked product made with macaroni or potatoes. Obviously, at a Passover Seder, I'm going to do potatoes because I can't have that pasta that's there. Flourless chocolate cake, and then macaroons and sliced fruit, sliced berries, things like that. Absolutely great way to finish the night. And some really, really wonderful wines. So, um, in the line of wines, everybody can go. And, as a kid, I grew up and we always tried, Mogan David. Back then we called it Mad Dog, but Mogan David makes a line of wines that are appropriate for Passover celebrations. Manischewitz is another one. Concord grape, common, very, they're the two that you can get in every state store. But there are three wines that I really strongly, strongly, strongly talk about that are great. So Carmel Vineyards, Carmel Vineyards. They come from Israel. If you can get any of their wines, you can find the symbol on there to show that they are, a kosher wine, acceptable for Passover. Fabulous. Then there's a Covenant, and I like the Covenant Chardonnay Lavon. It's Sonoma. One of the best wines with matzo ball soups you'll ever get. Just absolutely with any light broth, any chicken, but with matzo ball soup, it's like that they were made together, that they should be celebrated together. They also make a red blend Covenant, and it's another wine. So with Carmel, you're paying in Pennsylvania probably about $15 a bottle. With the Covenant, you're probably paying about $40 a bottle. Well worth it. Mogan David. I don't even want to go into what the cost of that is, but and then Manischewitz, you're paying about $10, $11 a bottle for that. Things like that. When you go to the supermarket this time of year, you find lots and lots and lots of kosher products, and they're all labeled kosher for Passover. They all have a little symbol on them. It's a wonderful type of situation. But then there's a little bit more that you can get into. So I love matzahs. I'm a cracker guy. I like that with a lot of different things. But there are a couple different types of matzahs that are out there. So you can just buy a standard egg matzah. You can buy a standard matzah. But there are also a type that's shmura, which is shmura is a supervised matzah. So from the time the grain has been harvested till the time the cracker is produced, that has been supervised so that no heat, no water, or no natural process was there to begin fermentation of any type, because a fermented grain is a forbidden product. You can't have that at Passover. You can get them, and there are many places now, bakeries around the holidays, where you can actually get a fresh baked matzah. It's very thin, it's light, it's a really wonderful product, expanding out that. You can go to Google and find amazing menus, amazing recipes to bring home and make a Passover meal. You can go to Amazon and get a Seder plate. I needed several Seder plates for this, one for every table. I think I paid like $1.59 a piece for them on Amazon. You know, this disposable ones that explained or had pictures of the food for the guests who were there. It was really wonderful. I have a Seder plate at home. I also have a Kiddush cup, which is a traditional cup for the wine. But you know, you can just use a plastic cup. You don't have to do anything about, special with that. But look at the recipes, and the recipes brisket is another one. Nothing like a slow braised brisket that allows you to just fork tender, rich in flavor. The vegetables served on the side of it, really, really wonderful meal. If you still have an opportunity and you want to do this, there are many places in the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding areas that you can get Passover Seder meals delivered to your house. My favorite, I think the best Passover Seder, Lynn Buno, Skip Schwartzman at Feast Your Eyes Catering. I cannot say enough about their food. I believe their Seder meals actually have ended, but an absolutely fabulous thing. Up in Bucks County, Moishanitzi's is a place that I go oftentimes, and I can get things up there. Enjoy the celebration, learn the tradition. In 20 minutes, you could become familiar with the story. You can get the Passover book that guides you through the readings at Acme for free. They have them out there. Believe it or not, they're produced by Maxwell House. I don't know how that happens, but they are. And I actually have a copy here. It's really wonderful. It tells the story of the Exodus and everything that goes with that. It's a really wonderful thing. So that being said, I just want to wish everybody out there a very joyous Passover, a very happy Easter. You know, Begin to explore the cultures. You're going to learn so much from the food. The flavors are amazing. The story is amazing. And paying homage to that freedom from slavery in such a symbolic way, you can't go wrong. Everybody have a great holiday season.
That was great, Chef. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. You filled my notepad.